The GDP figures are out, and the GDP growth rate that has been released by the government has exceeded expectations. The financial year 2023 real GDP growth is estimated at 7.2%, which is higher than the forecast that the government had made earlier at 7%. These are the provisional estimates that have been released by the government, and according to them, the financial year 2023 real GDP growth rate is at 7%. Importantly, it is lower than the 9.1% GDP growth rate that was reported in financial year 2024. So in that sense, the GDP growth rate has slowed, but with this rate, India maintains its status as the fastest growing economy, major economy globally. If we also talk about the quarterly growth rate that has been released, the growth rate for the January to March quarter is at 6.1%, which is higher than the estimate that the Reserve Bank of India had made at 5.9%. The quarter 4 GDP growth rate is at 6.1%, which is higher than the 4.5% growth rate that was reported in quarter 3. Now, the quarterly GDP growth rate has also risen after falling for 2 consecutive quarters. Now, let's look at how big our pie is. What is the value of the country's gross domestic product? The nominal GDP is valued 44% higher than what the value was in the pre-pandemic year of 2019. If you talk about the value of our GDP, it is at 72 lakh crore rupees in 2023. This is the nominal GDP, while in 2019 it was at 189 lakh crore rupees, so a 44% increase there. But it's important to point out here that while our pie is getting bigger, the piece that every person is getting is still significantly low. The per capita GDP of our country is just 10% higher than what it was in the pre-pandemic year in 2019. So in 4 years, it has grown just about 10%. In 2023, the per capita GDP is at 1,15,746, while in 2019, it was at 1,05,000. But what's contributing to the rise in real GDP growth rate? That's agriculture, manufacturing, construction, and the travel sector. The agriculture sector has grown at 4% versus 3.5% last year, and it stands at 22 lakh crore rupees for financial year 2023. Manufacturing sector grew at 1.3%, but that's significantly low if you compare it with the growth rate of last year, which was 11%. And the manufacturing sector's gross value added to the GDP is at 26 lakh crore rupees for financial year 2023. Private consumption expenditure is also up 7.5% compared to financial year 2022, and it's at 93 lakh crore rupees, and it contributes to over half of the total GDP of our country. Now, the gross fixed capital formation is up by 11% year on year at 54 lakh crore rupees. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also tweeted that the growth figures underscore the resilience of the Indian economy amidst global challenges, and this robust performance, along with overall optimism and compelling macroeconomic indicators, exemplify the promising trajectory of our economy. Another good news that came out is that the central government has also met its fiscal deficit target. The fiscal deficit for the financial year 2023 has narrowed to 6.4% of the GDP compared to 6.7% in the last financial year. In simple terms, this is the difference between the government's expenditure and receipts, and that is now at 17 lakh crore rupees. So these major points of good news coming in for the economy.